Some weird stories have been told that it was a headless ghost that's carrying a lantern.
This was an elderly couple was driving down the road, and this light went through their pickup. They had a pickup with a camper on the back and went all the way through, and she had a heart attack.
My heart was racing, you know, my voice was quivering. I mean, I wasn't sure what it was.
My grandma, she said she's seen it. It's a guy, headless, walking past her car.
It seems to uncannily extract itself from the dimension it was previously in and disappear somewhat.
Close to 30 years ago, we were driving along in the pickup with kids in the back, and the thing kind of came at us, and then it split, and it was like two different colors when it split, and everybody was all scared.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, pretty neat, huh?
God, what was that?
I don't think anybody knows what it is.
Like a beacon on the western edge of the Ozarks, the mysterious light has charmed and frightened people for at least 100 years. It appears in northeast Oklahoma, about a mile from the Missouri border and 3 miles south of Kansas. Nearly every night, the curious gather to watch. People call it the Tri-State Spook Light, the Hornet Spook Light, or even the Joplin Spook Light, but locals refer to it simply as the Spook Light. For more than a century, witnesses try to explain what they see but can't approach.
After a period of time, it seems like you're going to get closer to it. Once you get so far, there's nothing. You don't see it at all.
There's no ghost mansion about 2 miles away from here, just across the highway. They say that's part of it. Burnt down now, of course.
One of the stories is there's an old Indian warrior that's had his head severed off or something like that, and he's looking for his head.
An old Indian looking for his squaw, you know, and that was his like lantern that he was looking through the woods. That was one of the myths, I know.
A dad looking for his child who was lost when they were little. And so this is the spirit of the dad, so it's like him with a flashlight looking around.
I've known that these things have been going on for thousands of years. I mean, we've had sightings in the Bible of floating lights that have been explained as angels or tongues of light or certain other things all the way through Marco Polo.
This is really the first time I've ever even looked for it. I've never even looked for it before. I always thought it was some kind of fairy tale and everybody was out of their minds. But that's pretty neat, pretty neat.
According to tradition, 2 Native American lovers, pursued by their elders, leaped to their deaths from this cliff. While falling through the air, their spirits merged to form a light that still wanders through the woods near the Spring River. Tri-State residents say Native Americans have been aware of a spirit light long before the arrival of settlers.
I've heard of Indian pictographs being told, describing a light far off in the distance that they couldn't get to.
After the Civil War, huge deposits of lead and zinc were discovered near Joplin, Missouri. For half a century, the tri-state area became the world's second largest supplier of these metals. The region boomed with miners and their families moving in. This attracted industry and development to process the lead and zinc ore. A doctor traveling through in a horse-drawn buggy in the late 1800s saw the spook lights. Other witnesses gave their account of seeing strange lights many years before motor cars reached this part of the country. Area resident Juanita Kay wrote,
"Many settlers camped here on our property overnight when they used to travel by wagon. After investigating the place where they'd seen campfires the night before, my mother and father became aware of the light because they found no ashes where the fiery lights had appeared. This was way back in the 1800s.
The Miami News Record describes some scary events that happened near Hornet, Missouri in 1886. Strange balls of light bouncing over the hills and through the fields, causing dogs to howl, scaring cattle, and frightening some residents so badly they moved away. In 1903, a widow living near State Line Road was frightened by an odd light. Hornet, Missouri resident Bill Miser and a half dozen of his friends went to investigate.
It floated like a will-o'-the-wisp up the draw and disappeared. Then presently it reappeared and got to within 100 feet of us, floated around, and when the wind got up a bit, it disappeared. And as I said before, I had a hard time keeping my hat on my head. Bill Miser."
Newspaper reports of spook light sightings date back at least into the 1930s and caught the interest of some of the nation's top investigators. In 1936, the Kansas City Star sent Pulitzer Prize-winning correspondent A.B. McDonald to confirm the existence of these strange lights. During World War II, the U.S. Army built Camp Crowder near Neosho, Missouri, as a training base for its Signal Corps. Soldiers looking for entertainment visited the light, and soon the Army was looking at it too.
The Army investigated and they didn't come up with anything, so I don't think I can beat what they did.
In 1945, Dr. George Ward from the Bureau of Standards investigated the light. He concluded that what he was seeing was refracted light from automobile headlights traveling along Route 66, about 10 miles to the west of where the lights could be seen. Not everyone felt satisfied with Ward's conclusion. Ten years later, in the summer of 1955, former Army Weapons Commander Bob Lofton did an in-depth examination of the light. Captain Lofton ran some tests using portable spotlights that appeared to confirm Dr. Ward's findings. Lofton published his investigation of the spook light in a small booklet that was widely distributed. The legend continued to grow. On many nights in the 1950s, hundreds of cars would show up. It seemed everyone wanted to see the spook light.
There used to be a wax museum, and lots of people would go visit the wax museum, kind of get freaked out by that, and then wait to see it.
In the 50s, Spooky Meadows opened up a little museum on the Missouri end of New Spook Light Road. It quickly became a popular teenage hangout. Spooky would sing a song he had written honoring the spook light while the kids sipped soda pop, listened to records, and watched what they had come to regard as their spook light through Spooky's telescope. Authors jumped on the bandwagon to publish spook light stories, and curious high school students performed their own experiments. The spook light even became a finalist in the High School National Science Projects Competition in 1960. All the publicity seemed to steal away the magic from the light. Then, years later, something amazing happened that got the world's attention. And it happened to a newspaper reporter from the Joplin Globe.
One of our reporters years back got a photo of the spook light that's been used extensively. You can find it on the internet usually.
Staff photojournalist Marta Churchwell captured this stunning 30-second exposure of the spook light in 1977. The smear in Churchwell's photograph appears to connect two lights. This image suggests the spook light moved in front of the trees while the camera's shutter was open. Our cameras caught a very similar looking event on the evening of November 11th, 2003 at dusk.
Of course, you got the grain and stuff, but I could see the second light on that one as well.
Oh yeah, I see the second light too.
Yeah.
The second light on the left lasted only seconds, and it's hard to tell if it moves in this video.
We need to get it dubbed over so we can show our class.
Previous scientific investigations failed to explain a light that moves in front of the trees. Nor can previous investigations explain the long history of spook light sightings that occurred before there were automobiles and electric lights. Standing in Oklahoma, on this section of Ottawa County Road E50, known as New Spook Light Road, it may be possible to look directly west and see where Route 66 tops a hill about 10 miles away, just south of the Oklahoma town of Quapaw. This scene is deceptive. As the road runs up and down across a series of hills that descend to the Spring River, distance perception is distorted. 10 miles looks like 3. Standing near the Spring River looking to the east toward the observation point on New Spook Light Road, it's easy to see the landscape rising upward from the river to a plateau in Missouri. There is a notch between these two hills that allows a person standing on New Spook Light Road to peer westward a number of miles into the valley 250 feet below. For 5 miles from this vantage point, on the west side of the Spring River, several road intersections are visible. There are lights from businesses and homes, car lights, street lights. A light atop a water tower burns red, and caution lights at a nearby railroad crossing constantly flash. Some investigators say these elements combine to form the spook light.